Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
From the city of Abuja, it is our pleasure this afternoon to say welcome to Money Radio. And for those of you in the diaspora, especially in the West, we say good morning. That is the USA. And to you in the East, we say good evening. This is Money Radio, and this is the National Economy segment of the program on Leadership TV. My name is Case Hammond. I am your host, and in the studio with me is Mr. Anthony Uko. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
We are discussing a topic today that says how mass exodus of Nigerians could hurt the economy in the future. How mass exodus of Nigerians could hurt the economy in the future. Over the past decades, and I say decades because this thing started in the 1970s, but somehow the number of persons going out seeking greener pastures has actually graduated. And it seems to be graduating to a huge or a larger number every year. Yes, that has economic impact. We say so because everywhere there is a conflict that causes mass efflux of people, that country usually suffers economic impact in the future because its hands, its professionals go with that exodus. So that's the issue we're discussing. We're talking about Nigeria now. How is it going to hurt Nigeria? Let's not forget that in a way, mass exodus of people has been helping the Nigerian economy. But to what extent compared with how it has been hurting the economy? We're talking about hurt here and help. Just before COVID-19, monies sent back to Nigeria in the form of remittances was somewhere around between 23 and 25 billion dollars annually. With COVID-19, it dropped to 17, and it's somewhere around 18, 19 now. Let's put that in a balance, on a scale. How is mass exodus hurting Nigerians? How is mass exodus helping Nigerians? But let's dwell more on the hurt issue. How is mass exodus of Nigerians hurting the economy?
Yes, you mentioned that in the past decades, starting from the 70s, we've had mass exodus, people leaving the country, especially professionals. I would want to say that at those times, many of those who left actually went out to further their education,
Yes.
and to enhance themselves academically. And many of them too had the intention of coming back, and a lot of them actually came back to the country and all that. But the situation where many began to move out, seeking greener pastures, and in cases where they left on an academic ground to go further their studies, they end up not coming back, was as the situation in the country in terms of security, in terms of job provision of the basic necessities in the country somehow dwindled, owing to the kind of governance we've been having. And then you see a lot more people seeking to better themselves out there. And we've had so many graduates churned out year on year, and then they come out, they are forced into the labor market, they hardly have jobs to do meaningful things to engage them, and where they have that, it's not commensurate with what they need, what they require to have meet their very basic needs. Of course, it's been hurting the Nigerian economy because these people take with them the expertise that Nigeria needs, the professionals, the professional know-how that should be channeled into different sectors to improve the economy, the nation's economy. They take this with them, they take it to the countries where they are going to. And those countries, even though they are already um, developed, they get much better for it at the expense of the Nigerian economy.
You know, statistics show that the number of Nigerians living outside of the country, we usually call them Nigerians in the diaspora, over somewhere around 17 and 18 million. 17, 18 million. You know, when we talk about, like just like you mentioned, um, many of those people who around the 70s, 80s
Mm-hmm.
traveled to maybe the UK, the US. Let's not forget that at that time, Nigeria had just come out of a civil war,
Yes.
and the country was in need of many Nigerians had died, professionals had
Yes.
died
Yes.
in the civil war, and so there was this need not just to build capacity locally, but to also expose Nigerians to the outside world and to expose them to education of the West,
Yes.
and of course not just the West, but countries like Russia has been absorbing some of Nigeria's students, and India, a number of them have been absorbing Nigerian students. As those people went, some of them came back and they became lecturers, they became professors in Nigerian universities. Of course, they contributed their quota in that way to the local economy. But there are many of them who stayed. Many of them stayed, and then of course, in the 90s, it wasn't only restricted to that number of persons going out to to get education.
Yeah.
People started going out. In fact, the number started increasing of those people who were going for greener
That's
pastures.
true.
Yes, and those people mainly included and are still including young people, young, vibrant hands. The economy, the local economy, in that case, when we lose young, vibrant hands, when we lose our professionals, we lose. Nigeria stands to lose.
Of course.
Take for example, just now we were talking about the professionals who went on Nigeria scholarship and didn't come back. They stayed, they contributed to the economies of those countries, and when they get old, when such people get old, they come to Nigeria for retirement, and that is a burden in a way. After expending all of your energies in a foreign land, using all of your knowledge and skill to build that economy, then when as soon it's time to retire, mhm, you come back. These social media people can be funny, but there's this writing or this statement I saw online one time that was attributed to the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, that Africa is a graveyard. When they asked how, he said when Africans want to, they make money and they go out to spend it, and they use their skills and their knowledge in different countries. When they come back, when it's time to die, they come back
They
home to
come
die.
back home to die.
Yes. So he was saying in that case, and he said I said people attributed that statement to Putin before we start hearing about trying to get to me with a nuclear bomb here. Let's not go to that. But somebody attributed that they may have been joke, but what the person was actually saying was that people use Africa or Africa's. We are talking about Nigeria in this context.
Mhm.
Africa's best
Mhm.
is actually expended out there.
Yes.
It's not just our natural resources right now. We're talking about human
Human
resources.
resources.
Just look at, take for example, just the other day, it was last year, sometime last year, if I'm not making a mistake, that a team of Saudis came to Nigeria and recruited Nigerian doctors. You heard that story?
Yes.
And somebody said in just one day, 200 doctors were recruited. Imagine a country losing 200 doctors in one day. Uh, the number of of all the foreign doctors in the UK, Nigeria contributes. I'm talking about foreign medical personnel.
Yeah.
Nigeria contributes close to 4%. We're talking about global contribution. Uh, that is more than 200 countries represented in
Yes,
the UK.
in the UK.
Nigeria contributes close to 4% of the, the medical professionals in that country. And you can see that it's a small number compared to other places put together, including the US, because you know what we're talking about.
Yes, the when you look at the medical field, the number of the huge number of people, personnel, from professionals from the medical field that have you know, left the country seeking greener pastures. You would want to tie that back to what they get here in this country. Um, how much is the average doctor paid?
Yeah,
There was a report once that the average doctor gets 75,000
Naira.
naira, and then then we were like, "What are you saying? Is this so?" When such reports, those kind of working conditions
Yeah,
that are so that you can't even begin to imagine that someone who has put in those number of years, and then we know what it takes to go to school here and become a medical doctor, or at least a medical doctor. Other fields may not be as high as that,
yes,
and then they come out, and you don't even pay them well. You don't give them very good conditions to work with, and then even the hospitals where you expect them to work, they are not well um, uh, equipped.
yeah,
We don't have good equipment for them to work with and all that, and so they are managing on all fronts.
like on all fronts.
They are managing personally
And
and professionally. They cannot even give their best out. Yet the people at the top there, any little thing happens to them, they jet out of the country to go take care of their health outside.
exactly.
So what would you they also look forward to having a better life, even though their job is a sacrificial one.
Are they not having families?
They, of course they do. That's what, and that is, and when you now compare this with what their counterparts in other countries,
Yes,
especially the UK and the US,
yes,
are getting for services that are not even um, you know
commensurate.
commensurate.
With what they have here.
Yes, for working for far less hours, they get paid much more.
Yeah,
You find the average medical personnel wanting to leave,
exactly.
especially with the death of with those countries not having enough
Yeah.
personnel in the medicals, and then here we have, even though we don't have enough, but we don't treat them well. A lot of them will want to leave, and it is estimated that up to 2,000 of them leave the country
Every year.
every year.
Yes.
Imagine losing that number.
Yeah. How many are we producing?
How many are we producing in the first
Yeah.
place?
Let's take a short break. We'll come back. Some issues that contribute to some factors that contribute to this trend that we want to talk about, and we'll talk about how it can be reversed. Let's take a short break.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back, viewers. You're still on to Money Radio. This is Leadership TV, and you are on to the National Economist segment of the program. Still in the studio with me is Mr. Anthony Uko, and I'm Case Hammond. We are discussing a topic that says how mass exodus of Nigerians could hurt the economy in the future. We talk about the future, and it's not just the future right now. We're talking about the present, because this thing is actually hurting the economy.
Yes.
But let's look at what causes it in the first place. We talk about local conditions, and usually when we talk about why people leave a country in mass to other countries, the major factor is conflict. It may be living conditions, but the major factor is conflict. Let's draw an analogy with other countries, and maybe we'll get to the point. Every country where you have conflict, people flee, and you lose your hands. When it comes to that, it may be sometimes conflict, but it may be actually hardship. Sometimes people want to go out for better standard of living. So, a few countries, we want to give an example of Syria. Syria is suffering that today. With the war in Syria, they have lost billions of dollars in terms of human asset, human capacity, human asset. They have lost billions of dollars. We talk about Iran. Before the revolution in Iran was just losing like 50,000 people to foreign countries yearly. After the revolution, in fact, the thing went to almost 150,000 annually. That country, most of them that actually exited, 64% were highly skilled workers, including professors, people who went out to do their doctorate degrees. These are the kind of the quality of people that went outside of the country, and Iran lost. India was one of them too. India lost professionals at a time when there was conflict and when things became hard. Nigeria is one of them. Nigeria is a net loser of her brains when we talk about that. And recently now we're talking about Russia and Ukraine. Yes, you can bet that many of those people who leave the country, once they find a safer haven there where they can make a new living, Take for example, Russia is actually decimating, not just decimating, he's destroying, he's pummeling cities. He's leaving cities desolate.
Yes.
If you look on the TV and you see images of a country, a state, sorry, a city like Mariupol, you see Mariupol and you wonder, 90%, in fact, more than 90% of the people or of the infrastructure, the buildings in that city have been destroyed. Now, when we talk about 90% of the buildings, we're not just talking about residential buildings, we're talking about offices, but factories also. So, when you talk about factories being destroyed, it will take time to rebuild those. So, people who have been working in those places and have escaped, and they find a safer haven, a dwelling place in other countries that where they can receive or get some employment and make a living, they are not likely to come back to Mariupol. That's the kind of thing we're talking. And now we're talking. Let's double down on Nigeria. Over the over some years now, maybe more than a decade now, we have been having conflicts here and there. But for more than a decade now, we have been the number of conflicts have actually been increasing, and
Yes.
people are finding it difficult when you don't find a job based on conflict in your home country. You can't find a job that will keep you up to a living standard or give you a living wage. If you can't find a job for that, you tend to want to go out to do something else with your time so that you don't become underemployed or that the situation doesn't end up being you being a brain waste. You know, we talk about brain drain,
Yeah.
brain gain, and we talk about brain waste. You are here, you are educated, you have skill, and you are doing nothing. That is brain waste. So people who try to avoid brain waste actually try to go out. And we are noticing that, and it's beginning to hurt the economy. We talk about the future here, but we are talking about now. It's hurting the economy. There's no doubt about that.
Yes. You've talked about places where there are serious conflict, and we know that Nigeria has had its fair share of insecurity, especially in the northeast. And those areas, many of the cities, the villages there, a lot of people have had to vacate.
Yes.
Many people have left in droves. Those places are not even being um, lived in. Many of the cities, they're just beginning to um, have those, especially in Borno,
Yes.
having those places being set up all over again. And that's why we've had IDP camps in various locations to take care of those people. And within those sites, we've had a lot of their um, brains, a lot of their professionals would have left either gone out of the country or moved to other parts within the country. Well, this is on one hand. On the other hand, you find out that a lot of the brain drain that Nigeria has recorded has also been by other professionals who not necessarily as a result of insecurity or one crisis or the other, but it has been not having the right conditions for them to thrive. And when we're looking at it in terms of how it's affecting the economy now, of course it's affecting the economy now, and the situation right now is not even looking at improving for the future. And this is if you look at it as it relates to the educational system right now. If you want to look at we see our public universities, they've been on strike for the past 3 months. And now, when you would think that the government would do something concrete about that, nothing is being done, and they are embarking on another stretch of strike.
Yeah.
And then in that process, you find some students who have been, maybe when the strike started, they were almost writing their exams to graduate.
Yes.
And then they've been set back by before now we had COVID setting back the students, and then after COVID we had 8 months of strike and all that. And then just when they think that, oh, we've passed this, we're about to. And then when that happens, you see a lot of the younger generations, rather than seeking for admission
Yeah.
in Nigeria, they are all writing to go outside to study. And many of these, if the ones who left when Nigeria was much better than now didn't return, is it this ones? This ones would, so
that will
as
not be
they-
a thing. If they won't consider it.
they won't even consider it. So in as much as we're still losing the professionals that are on ground right now, we are also losing prospective
Yes.
professionals, because from the beginning they are going outside to study, and as they finish studying there,
They will stay there.
they will stay there and they won't come back, and Nigeria is losing out.
Yes.
So it's not just for the government now to address the people who are going, who are already professionals and they are going. They also have to look at take a serious look at the educational system to ensure that we can retain our youth in the country to
Yes.
study and then to remain here to apply their skills here.
Yeah, exactly. Earlier we linked the exodus to conflict. I just want to ask you a rhetorical question. You remember the Chibok girls?
Yeah.
A number of them who were rescued
Mhm.
were later on given opportunity to go abroad
Yes.
and study there.
Mhm.
Yeah. Those Chibok girls, when they learn something because they are on scholarships also,
Mhm. Mhm.
well, after learning, where they were captured because they were in school.
Mhm.
Now they have been taken away to continue their schooling.
Mhm.
Tell me, how many of them, if there will be any, that will, after completing the university, or some of them will become nurses, which many of them would have loved to help their local
Yes.
population. How many of them would decide after their studies that I'm going back to Chibok to study? I mean, to serve my people.
Mm. In fact, any one of them who decides to return should just be given,
National award.
she's a saint.
Yeah.
She's a saint.
Yes. So the thing goes like that. Besides that, peace, just like an article in National Economy also mentions today, peace gives people the freedom
Mhm.
to create wealth.
Yeah.
When there is peace, it's in peace that people want to come out
Mhm.
and give out their best.
Their best.
Once there is conflict, people don't want to, out of fear.
Mhm.
You hear about some places in some parts of the country
Mhm.
where people go to the farms and they are killed. Some
Yes.
people have to pay some sort of levy, or
Mhm.
not of levy, but tax.
Tax.
Yes,
Not-
imposed
not-
by criminals.
Yes.
To pay. You hardly find people wanting to stick to such a way or means of livelihood.
Mhm.
You normally want to go to a place that is more peaceful, and when they go there, they are not likely to come back. So Nigeria stands to lose more when there is conflict here and there. Any last word?
Yeah. Nigeria stands to lose, and it behooves the officials
Yes.
to take a critical look at it, at all those things. There are so many. There are areas like the conflict areas where you would say, oh, they are criminals, we're working on it. And then they are deploying all the security measures that they can to ensure that these are contained. But outside of conflict, there are other policy-induced brain drain which can be addressed with
Yes.
the right policies if government will look at it with the economy, the impact on the economy, and being mindful of that, so that the drain can be stopped.
Yeah. With that, we want to draw a curtain on today's edition of Money Radio. It's been nice having you as always.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks to you, our producers. Our biggest thanks actually go to those of you who follow us loyally on this program. It's because of you we are here. We'll entertain comments from you on the issues we discuss on this program, on how we can improve. Until then, we'll meet tomorrow for a bumper edition of Money Radio. That will be the agriculture business, the agribusiness segment of the program. But until then, I've been your host, Case Hammond. Have a great day. God bless you.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.